Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Evan Turnage, and I'm the director of the Southern Justice Project at the Open Markets Institute. The Southern Justice Project is an initiative to study how corporate control shapes life in Southern communities, particularly poor, rural, and low-income communities, and to help people identify solutions to the economic empowerment problem that we've been discussing this morning and this afternoon. One thing I've learned is that fully understanding how these challenges will be solved, or how to solve them collectively, requires listening to people, actually hearing what their actual concerns are on the ground, the people living with these issues every single day. That's why we wanted to dedicate this session to voices from the field. So next we're going to hear from 4 people who have spent years on the front lines of this work. We've asked each of them to take just 4 or 5 minutes to share their greatest takeaways. First, we're going to have Rebecca Slaughter, who is a former FTC commissioner. Second, we're going to have Representative Maggie Goodlander of New Hampshire, who first ran and won her seat back in 2024. She successfully applied her deep knowledge of breaking concentrations of power as a Deputy Assistant Attorney General for Antitrust at the Justice Department to her campaign and conversations with New Hampshire voters. Third, we're going to hear from Greg Gunther, who owns and operates an independent family farm in Northeast Indiana and is a leader in the sustainable agriculture movement. And finally, we'll hear from Joseph Guy Varghese, who has spent more than 2 decades building worker power from leading campaigns with SEIU and the Change to Win Labor Coalition. So first, we're going to have Becca.
Hi, it's so nice to be here today. As Evan mentioned, I've been at the FTC for a while, and I will talk about that for a second, but before that, I had shared a job that Evan later did in the US Senate, so we go way back, and I think he's the best. Okay, so as Evan mentioned, I was at the FTC. I don't actually like to say former FTC commissioner, and I will explain to you why in a second. I joined the FTC in 2018. I was a Trump appointee originally. I joined at a really exciting moment in the agency's 100-year history where we revved up and then drove aggressively forward an agenda to take on corporate power without fear or favor, challenging some of the most powerful companies in the world, and tackling issues first as minority commissioners with myself and Commissioner Chopra, and then under the leadership of Chair Khan in the majority during the Biden administration, take on some of the issues, big and small, that were hurting Americans in their everyday lives. Subscription traps, junk fees, the price of insulin and inhalers, grocery store mergers, things that really made a difference to people in their everyday lives. I was renominated by President Biden and confirmed, and then in March of 2025, I was fired by President Trump in violation of very clear statutory language and 90 years of unanimous controlling Supreme Court precedent. I sued, challenging that removal, and maybe tomorrow, but no later than next week, the Supreme Court will rule on my suit. Why? Why am I challenging this removal? When I worked at the FTC under Chair Khan, there was a period of time we didn't have Republicans there through their own choice, not through forced removal, and I'm sympathetic to the notion that uniparty control of these agencies can allow you to do the aggressive work you want to do more efficiently. But that is not how Congress set up these agencies, not just the FTC, but the FCC and various other agencies that were established to check corporate power, the most powerful corporations in America. And I think the thing that I think about most when I think about why it's important to be in this fight is that image from the inauguration of the president, surrounded not by foreign dignitaries, not by public servants, not even by his family, but by the leaders of the most powerful corporations in America. And what that image said and showed very clearly is what Adam was just talking about, which is the direct link between corporate power and executive power run amok, and the importance of challenging both if we are going to have a government that is responsive to people and not to the powerful. And one anecdote that I will tell you in my very short time that illustrates that for me In 2019, as you all know, the FTC settled its lawsuit with Facebook, which had been egregiously violating a privacy order for a decade. And we settled it, the agency settled it for $5 billion. I thought that was a bad idea. So did Commissioner Chopra. We dissented vociferously because we thought, and we're correct, that $5 billion would not be a meaningful check on Facebook's abuse of its power, and it would operate more as a permission slip than a punishment. And that I thought was inconsistent with both the law and common sense. We did not dissent because we thought the majority at the time was doing a favor for Facebook as a large corporate donor to the president. At the time, they weren't. Fast forward to the fall of 2025, when the FTC settled a case we had filed under Chair Khan challenging Amazon subscription traps. They settled on the eve of trial for $3.5 billion, again, unfathomable amount of money to me, Becca, not very much for Amazon, after the FTC staff had won pretrial motion after pretrial motion after pretrial motion and was poised to get a very, very significant litigation victory. Did they settle it because it was in the best interest of consumers? Or did they settle it because at that time Amazon had donated to the inauguration and the ballroom and paid $40 million for the Melania documentary? I don't know, and you don't know either, because you didn't have commissioners there, majority or minority, who are willing to operate without fear or favor and call out corruption when they saw it. And specifically, when I say fear or favor, I mean fear of getting fired for failure to do a favor for the president's allies. And so the point isn't just the firing, it's the president's ability to fire, which is how we end up with, for example, an FCC that is exercising extraordinary power over speech and people's ability to access news and media in order to do favors for a very powerful president. Supreme Court's going to decide this case, as I said, any day, and I think it's really important to remember that this conversation about checking power, both corporate and executive, and the importance of having checks and balances in our government doesn't end with that decision, whatever it may be. It continues, and if the Supreme Court rules against me, the fight shifts even more importantly to Congress, where we need to elect and demand representatives who exercise their constitutional obligation to check out of control power, whether that be corporate or executive, and especially in the intersection of both. So thank you very much.
Can we give it up for Becca Slaughter? It's so good to see you. It is so nice to be in a room full of people who understand as deeply as I feel I do, as the great Sally Hubbard wrote, why monopolies suck. So I think we have more people in Congress who get that, but this room of people, I'm just grateful to be in conversation with you. I'll just say a few words. I was so proud to work alongside Becca, and we need you back in government. We really do. Thank you. And I promise you, no matter how things shake out at the Supreme Court, I'm with you in this fight until the very end. I was so proud to work with you at the when I was at the Justice Department, you were at the FTC. And, you know, to me, I came to this work of antitrust enforcement a little later in my life, but I did really read Sally Hubbard's book, and it was and if you haven't read it, it's called Why Monopolies Suck. And it is, I love the book because it really engages with a topic that for far too long was treated by economists and academics as an academic discipline. But this is, to me, the stuff of economic fairness. And it's a huge reason why I came to the United States Congress. It's not often that you see someone go from the antitrust division to the United States Congress, but we need more of that. We need more anti-monopolists in Congress, because during this period right now of real darkness in the executive branch, we cannot delay or hold back in trying to make as much progress as we possibly can to write the rules of the road that we need for this moment and for what lies ahead. And it's been, as you all know well, way too long since Congress dusted off the U.S. Code and updated our antitrust laws for the moment. But what I can tell you is I want to be your partner in every way. We need your ideas. We need your energy. We need your organizing now more than ever before. I'll just tell you, Becca, you said it well about the inauguration. Walking into the Capitol Rotunda that day really was a visual depiction of the hell that we've been living in for the last year and a half. I don't need to tell all of you the level of corruption, of chaos, of cruelty, of just rank unconstitutional conduct. It is unprecedented. But so is the opportunity to take on the forces of darkness and the corporate monopolists who are backing what is so dead wrong in our politics right now. I'll just tell you, I serve on the House Armed Services Committee, and in the spirit of trying to make progress, we've been hard at work. As I've traveled across New Hampshire, I was hopeful that the anti-monopoly worldview would be intuitive to people who had never, heard anything about antitrust law. And in practice, it has borne out. My best partners have been, I know we have family farmers with us today. I'm fourth generation, great-granddaughter of family farmers who really did teach me the importance of competition, that, I'm a proud capitalist, but capitalism without competition is not capitalism. It is rank exploitation. And whether it's a family farmer, whether it's an independent grocer, an independent pharmacist, the story is the same. The experience is the same. It's the same for our service members right now, who are in the grip of in a very competitive field of outrageous monopolies that the U.S. government has aided and abetted. The monopoly that the five big defense primes have on the right of our service members to repair their own equipment is one that we decided to really take up as a cause. And I'll tell you, the opposition. Oh, I thank you for that, keeping that time. This is what Congress does to you. It makes you so long-winded. I wanted to share with you that we are hard at work making progress in the National Defense Authorization Act to take on this piece of the monopolies that have really made us less safe, less competitive, and have been so expensive for our military. The opposition has been a very coordinated, as it always is, multi-million-dollar effort to try to kill this really common sense bipartisan bill that I've been really proud to work on alongside Senator Warren, Senator Sheehy in the Senate, and my colleague from North Carolina, Pat Harrigan. We are a genuine team on this. It's a bipartisan issue, and it's one example I just want to point to you. As the revolution unfolds, I don't want to lose sight of what we can get done between now and January 3rd, 2027, and I hope you will all stay in close touch, because we really do need your ideas. We have few opportunities to make good law, but I promise you, every single one of them, we are going to do as much as we possibly can, and that will be with your help. So I thank you so much for everything you're doing. Long live the anti-monopoly movement. It really is. The ideas are as old as America, and you will help keep them alive and well in the 250 years ahead. So thank you all.
America loses 63 farms every day. America's farmers didn't suddenly forget how to farm. What happened was American politicians built a system that allows the few to concentrate power, and it was the independent farmers who pay the price. I'm Greg Gunthorpe. My family has raised pigs in Northeast Indiana for at least 4 generations. For decades, we sold hogs into the commodity market until in 1998, my wife and I realized we were selling pigs for less in real terms than my grandfather received during the Great Depression. At that moment, we had a choice: get bigger, get out, or find a new way. We chose a new way. We built a USDA-inspected processing plant on the farm and started selling directly to chefs. It's been a difficult but a very remarkable journey. Today, our pork is served at Disney, O'Hare Airport, and Caesar's Palace. The lesson I learned is simple. Farmers are incredibly innovative when they are free to compete, but most farmers never get that chance. They are trapped in markets dominated by a handful of powerful buyers, processors, and retailers. Rural America knows something is broken. Many feel Washington has forgot them. This makes us very angry. Too often, the debate offers only two choices: more government or less government, but neither answer addresses the real issue. The real issue is whether farmers, ranchers, and scrappy entrepreneurs have the freedom to compete. Rural America was built on independence, innovation, and opportunity, not dependence on government or on a handful of powerful corporations. If we want more independent farmers and stronger rural communities, we need to block concentration and restore fair competition. To do that, we need to focus on 4 priorities. First, subsidy reform. Today, most public dollars, direct payments, indirect subsidies, and procurement programs favor the largest operations. Our tax dollars should support all farms, no matter their size. Second, antitrust enforcement. Markets only work when concentration is checked. That means serious merger review, real enforcement against abusive practices, and stopping conflicts of interest. With the exception of a few short years, the FTC, DOJ, and USDA have taken a half-century vacation from enforcement. Rural America wants them back in the office now, and that's not a request. Third, truth in labeling. Farmers and entrepreneurs who grow and process food in America should not have to compete against fake and foreign products backed by massive corporate marketing machines. Farmers have a right to free speech. Consumers have a right to truthful information. Right now, both rights are violated every day. Fourth, regulatory reform. Rules should not favor the largest players and burden the smallest. We need sensible exemptions for very small producers, workable pathways for mid-sized processors, and safeguards that protect consumers without locking in a few favorable actors. These are not partisan ideas. They are plain common sense. They are designed to give independent producers a fair chance to succeed through innovation and hard work. The next American Revolution cannot stop without replacing one elite with another. It must disperse power, economical, political, and market power, so ordinary Americans are free to compete. There's only one way out of today's political crisis. Prove you can deliver real change. Thank you.
Brothers and sisters, good afternoon. My name is Joseph Kivargis. I'm the executive director of Our Revolution, the grassroots political organization that Bernie Sanders started after his 2016 presidential bid. Before Our Revolution, I spent over 2 decades as a union organizer, helping service workers fight for 15 and helping manufacturing workers stop their jobs being shipped overseas. The perennial question that I get as an organizer is this: what do working class voters want? And the answer from my perspective is straightforward. The American people are angry, they're pissed, and they want change. Not spare change, not incremental change, but transformational change. But don't just take my word for it or my experience. At Our Revolution, we conduct regular surveys of our 8 million member base to understand their political priorities. Year after year since 2017, people consistently ranked pocketbook issues like Medicare for all and living wages at the top of their list. But that changed after Trump's reelection in 2024. For the first time, in our internal polling, our base identified corporate corruption as the single biggest problem that needs to be addressed in American political life. Corporate corruption, not affordability issues like healthcare or wages. So why the change? It's not like people's standard of living has gotten better. In fact, the material conditions of working Americans has gotten worse. What has changed is this. It is their political consciousness. Working class voters recognize that their personal struggles cannot be addressed when their government is bought and paid for by the corporate class. And it's important to remember that Donald Trump won the White House twice by running as an economic populist who promised to deliver more jobs and better wages and to fight for the forgotten American worker. But instead of standing up for workers, workers now see Donald Trump standing side by side with the titans of industry. People are seeing in real time the fusion of state and corporate power. They're seeing Donald Trump enrich themselves and letting his oligarch donors consolidate control over the commanding heights of the economy. And working people feel betrayed. Betrayal is a powerful political emotion. And at this moment in history, it is up to us to channel that anger. Working people are looking for political leaders who will expose Trump's faux populism and reestablish a clear line, a clear separation between corporation and state. Working class voters want a government that will break the power of the oligarchs who control not just their livelihoods, but who also dominate our politics, our economy, our media, in every aspect of our lives. Working class voters want a government that will stand on their side, improve their standard of living, and expand their opportunity, their freedom to live the lives they are called to live. Working class voters want true economic populism in this moment, an economic populism that is focused on rooting out the corporate corruption that is destroying our government. Brothers and sisters, our history shows that this is politically possible. The robber barons of the Gilded Age were defeated by working people who organized to win a new progressive era and a new deal. History can repeat itself. The oligarchs can be defeated, and they will be defeated, but only if we join forces and organize to defeat them. Thank you.